5 years ago, that's a big movement in all Latin America. That's Ni Una Menos, which means not one less. And there was one day that all women went to the street and say, enough. It's not possible that so many women are getting murdered. In this year, I remember that they put the numbers that was one woman every 18 hours getting murdered for the simple reason of being a woman. And there were millions of women in the street, and was an amazing connection where we were just talking to each other, and you are listening to so many strong stories, and all the social media also we start to speak up, and why we were shut up until then. So this really changed me, and that's when I decided, like, all my politic part became into a feminist activism. And I started to get, like, very involved in that. There were always, like, lots of events and inviting people, like, to do a conference. So you go to a conference, you watch it, and you support it in the way you can, and go into the streets and chatting and talking about it. I think the activist of just speaking up, it's very strong. As you ask people, I was asking my partner and friends of him, of hey, how it is in the feminist movement, and I was always getting the same kind of answer, like, feminist, that's a too strong word, and feminist, well, they already won. Women already won here, that's why they don't do anything anymore. Here it's no problems at all. So I was first impressed positively, but always, is that true? When I started living in the Netherlands, and for example, going to parties, you realize that you are touched and no one does anything. And I start to talk with more people, and it's like, oh, it's normal, guys that just can touch you. And when I speak up, no one did anything. And that shouldn't be normal. Exactly. It's an aggression, and it's making me uncomfortable. And more was like, no, don't worry, just calm down. I shouldn't calm down. Okay. And other things are like searching for a job, the kind of questions that sometimes you're made, like you plan to make a family, what do you care? It shouldn't be like that, you know? Right. You should ask other things. Exactly. And always is like when you fill an application, saying I'm a woman, I'm this age, and that's not right. And I expected it to be different. And once you start to meet more and more women here, you realize that most of women work part-time. And once you start to read more, you realize that almost the 50% of the women in the Netherlands are not economical independent. And you can say it's their choice, but how much of their choice it is, I don't believe it. So I started to really miss my feminist activist life in Argentina. And I started to say, okay, I need it. I have this passion of this energy, so many questions about this new society, what's going on. Let's search for something to join. And I spent 2 months making online research, searching for some organization that was doing actively things every month, debates, and to learn and to read together. And so, and I found a lot of groups that were more in the north of the Netherlands, in Rotterdam, in Den Haag, in Amsterdam, in Utrecht, but not in the south of the Netherlands, not in Brabant. So I was asking myself why. And I found very nice groups and contacts here. And I was saying, I was looking to this. And I was like, no, I don't do that. Well, but let's do it. So you are interested? No, I do something different. And a very nice girl and very direct girl one day told me, well, I don't do that. Why don't you do it? So I did a post in Expats in Eindhoven. That is the biggest online community that you can find in here around. And I asked if someone knew about a group, and if not, I am interested in this, that I had the idea of just gathering a group of women and men and people that are interested on talking and creating debates and learning, and see if we can support local fights for equality and international fights, as for example, legal abortion in Argentina. The first person that sent me a message was a Brazilian girl, and she said, "Hey, let's have a coffee next Friday." I said, "Great, let's do it." Create a private group that you need to ask permission to enter, so like let's say a safe space online. That the first idea that came to my head was the feminist wave in Eindhoven. And I sent this group to all the girls that supported my post or sent me a private message. And also I created a private event in the same group that only the people that are in the group can see this event, saying brainstorm meeting, let's meet next Friday. And in the Netherlands, you need to plan things with a lot of time usually. So doing a meeting in 6 days, I said like, well, at least it's me and the other Brazilian girl. So we are two, and that's already a start. And I sent it anyway to all of them. And 1 week later, we were 12. 12 women from 9 different countries, and we all had the same feeling. Some of them said like, I was already thinking about creating something, and I do feel like that, or how we connected. And we've just spent like 3 hours chatting and sharing about our lives, and it was beautiful. Well, Eindhoven is known because there is a lot of big companies of engineers. So there was a part of these 12 girls that they were engineers, other part that they are studying in the design academy. Also, there is a big design academy in Eindhoven, very known. A very, very diverse group, but all with the same questions in our head and all feeling the same. And like that, we started to do activities in the city, and physical activities in different places here in the city. But also we have our online community that we are sharing content and creating online debates every day. And now the group is more than 300 people in 1 year. Mm-hmm. And the idea is to do a safe space to create dialogue online and offline in the city and create questions on people's mind. And like that, I believe, is the first step that we have to create a change. Now, the first big event we did was a workshop named Sexism in Music, and was with a girl that she's from Spain, and she's a singer, and she sings feminist music. And well, we were using this picture to promote it. And what we did in this event, and I save it with a lot of love, we printed lots of lyrics from songs, and we made groups of 3 to 4 people, and we put them to analyze the lyrics. We were sitting and chatting about it, and doing like different groups, then changing the groups, and then one group was going to the front and sharing what they analyzed. And as it was in an open bar, they lent us the space, but anyway, it was open to the public. People that just went to have a beer entered our discussion. And then we did a big debate of like 40-45 people, with the people that did the workshop and that didn't do the workshop. And after that was like a 1.5-hour workshop. Ruth, the girl that organized everything with me, she sung, and another guys from her group of music, they were also improvising music. And it was a lovely evening that lots of people went home saying, I want to read more about the lyrics of what I'm listening, and also to create some conscious of how is the life of women in music and women artists. So since then, with the small things, I think we can change. For example, since then, I choose to listen to more women artists. And like that this was the first event. Also, we do events in the TUE, that's the Technical University in Eindhoven. And just this week we had planned an event there. And one of the girls from the Wave, she did an amazing presentation about stereotypes and the underrepresentation of women in engineering, mathematics, and technology, and how the stereotypes in our lives since we are kids affect the decision and the representation of women in STEM, that is the short for women in mathematics and engineering. And we have not just a presentation, but a space for dialogue, for chatting. And that's what I miss in the events that I have gone from other organizations here. That's amazing presentation, a person that knows a lot sitting in front of us, but later we don't talk about it. So in the technology area and engineers, we have always different events organized by our engineer group of girls. And it's very interesting, and more than anything, we talk a lot about the stereotypes. And also we started doing our cinema debates. We created a good relationship with the cinema here. It's a small cinema, but they give us the space almost for free. So we watch a movie and then we talk about it and we analyze it and how it relates to our life or not. It was a workshop about beauty standards. And basically, I invented a little activity. I asked the girls to close their eyes and remember when they were kids, and when the teachers were asking you to draw something, so to draw a man and a woman. How would you do it? And then I asked them to draw a woman how would be a pretty woman or man in their country, and which things you think that make the perfect women. What is beauty in your country? And they could draw it or make a list. And then we all shared it and how it made us feel and how we could relate with that and how is our relationship with our bodies in our culture. Fortunately, I've received much more love message than hate message since we started doing the events. What I get is a lot of questions of like, the men are also accepted. Men can be feminists. Why do you need that? What is the difference you make? And what's the purpose? What's your goal? I don't understand. What's the need of that? So people really don't understand it. And for me, it's also a process because, of course, coming from the manifestations in the street in Argentina and screaming and all that, here from like not having anything, I said, okay, it's a process. I cannot start with going to the street and doing a manifestation. I need to first bring those questions in the society and do like a campaign to change little by little this concept that they have it. Because I think and maybe I'm generalizing, but for most of people I met, feminist can be something negative. So our first year as the Wave was trying to break those stereotypes and trying to bring more conscious in the society. And after almost 1 year, it's when we decided to do our first events in the streets. So, well, we did once, it was November last year, the International Week Against the Violence Against Women. And I prepared some posters. For example, this, the color for all this movement was orange. That's why I used the orange behind. And I proposed for us to meet before the cinema night and talk about it and make pictures just to support. And lots of people came just to take pictures with the posters I did. It was very nice. So this is the main one, Stop Violence Against Women.
Yeah.
And we also created our Instagram, and we started to share all this content. When creating the Instagram also was a challenge, because I am no publicist. We didn't have other girls that were publicists, so we are just learning around. And one of the girls that started to join our events, it's a beautiful girl from Portugal, that she's a designer, and she designed our logo and more or less put like templates for us to work on that. So she created this logo, the wave. This is her creation, and with the 3 lines. And the colors we use is black, white, purple, and green. And like that, we use all the content that we do, and like trying to do a little bit more professional. Later, also another girl helped me to do it even more professional, and she was doing more templates, and she did presentation card, and was like, wow, so nice, and the presentation card for the wave. So every time I meet someone from the government or in the events we do, I can give it, hey, take it, check our social media, and maybe we can collaborate in the future. So also to take it serious. It's not just that we are playing around. We are really, it's something important to us, and we feel we are making a change. And for Women's Day, we decided to do the Women's March, which usually every year is just in Amsterdam. This year, for example, were 10,000 people in Amsterdam, which is amazing. But why just there? For me to go into Amsterdam, it's 2 hours. So I'm taking already 4 hours of my day, and also 40 euros. And not everyone has that. And Eindhoven, it's a big city, so I said, I think we should do it here. So it was a big challenge, because since asking the permission to the government and saying like, okay, we need a speaker, we need someone to speak in the front, do like a motivation before the march. Where are you going to march? How can we get to more people? And all these details of like, okay, how can we see and show up the group of the organization? So all the girls, we put different tasks to everyone. One girl created these t-shirts. She printed them by herself.
Wow.
She also did the big poster. She printed in the Design Academy. With other girls, we did these bands that we used it in our heads, like this, little bit like Rambo style.
Yeah.
But it was from the colors of the wave that we used it for everything, but just to have us like located a symbol of us. Actually, we decided together with the girls, green is the same green as for the legal abortion in Argentina. So in Latin America, it's used a lot for the feminist movement. Another color that's international color for women's movement is the purple. And for example, in Spain, it's used the purple more than anything. And black in one side looks good. And also we consider that's very important to start talking about intersectional feminism and representation of women of all races and ages and backgrounds. So it represents that as well. And the march was beautiful. I think it's the biggest accomplishment. You were asking me one of the biggest accomplishments that had, and I feel super proud of the march. And we were almost 100 people, which compared with the 10,000 in Amsterdam, you can say it's not much, but for us was amazing. It was the beginning of Corona, was raining, and people were just there to support and to march in the city and say, hey, we also want to do something. No, you don't see many marches in Eindhoven, not at all. And that's why it was so important for us to see like, hey, people is also interested. And even more beautiful, I was volunteer for all Black Lives Matter. And we were, I think, 800 to 1,000 people in the Black Lives Matter protest here in Eindhoven. That was also amazing. So this is, you can imagine my small apartment full of these kind of posters. taking name in the city, so they are searching for us. So students had to reach me for another recommendation of, hey, let's do something together. Plasma, it's a big group here that is about collaborations and inclusivity in the city. We are about to collaborate with another project. So Asbin is still a small city, and a city with a lack of feminism and a lack of cultural events. You connect very easy with others. And that have gave us more visibility and more trust, because it's, as I said, we are not playing around. We take it with our hearts, and we expect to do something good in the society. One of our girls now is doing our webpage, so trying little by little to build something that can create a change in the society and can create more spaces for us to talk about things that matter, you know. And none of us are teacher or catedrátic that can stand and make a conference. Hope one day I can do it, but now not. I am a person that is learning, that I have a lot of questions in my head, and that passions me. And we are a bunch of girls doing the same, and in the same way, and we study and we try to present things. I love to support feminist artists. This is a girl that was in this event the 7th of March. She's amazing. I love her art. And
Wow.
And so just like the way of supporting women, for me it's important, supporting women's business and ideals. It's something that it's so important for me, but also being an open person that people can come and ask for help. I went last October to Den Haag. That was the first Young Feminist Weekend, where they selected 30 girls to spend 3 days together. That they were young activists and feminists in the Netherlands. I was the only one from Brabant, and it was very nice connection. They are doing the next one this October again, and you can apply it online to participate and connect. And they do basically lots of dynamics during 3 days with different women and young feminists to say, okay, what do we want to do in our society? And different projects were born from there, and different connections. So I connect with very interesting women from other parts of the Netherlands, and yeah, it was a beautiful connection moment and support. And then I really thought, like, they almost all knew each other because they are from Amsterdam and Rotterdam, but they didn't know anyone from Eindhoven. So I was feeling also like this feeling of like, let's put Eindhoven together with the rest of the Netherlands. Why it's so far away? And I think also, for example, people from Maastricht felt the same this year, because they also did the first Women's March in Maastricht this year. So there's a lot to do. And sitting there and chatting with these girls, most of them were Dutch, also seeing that we connect somehow, or some others, or they listening my stories, and it's a very nice initiative from the Netherlands Vrouwenraad, that's the Women's Council, and they want to do it now, Young Women's Council. So that's when this part of the Young Feminists come. For a young feminist today is to realize that the way you were raised was not the only way you should have been raised, or you could have lived your childhood and your young life, and that everything you taught and someone, or that you learn from someone, can be deconstructed. And it's so tough to think through your life and deconstruct all these events and find the misogyny and the sexism and the stereotypes that pass through your life. And I'm not blaming fathers and mothers. We are always blaming mothers. We need to stop that. But let's stop blaming women as well. It's blaming the system we live in. So I think we discover the system we are living, and we are trying to build a new one. So seeing the reality, how it is. What's the biggest thing I have learned?
Like mind shifting, let's say, in a way.
Yeah, that well, I think every woman that I connect and that I have a deep conversation, they are inspiration for me. Lots of people, they have inspiration from big artist or a person that wrote a very important book, or a person that found very important thing in science, and like these kind of women are their inspirations, which is totally fine. For me, who inspires me the most is the women that passed like me through tough times in their lives, and they keep fighting and they are doing something for that, and they give me so much knowledge with just connecting, sitting, drinking a tea, a beer, and talking about our lives and saying, hey, I passed through this. Oh, that was wrong. I passed through this as well. This was wrong. What can we do? And what do you think? And then it's just exchanging. This moment for me is the most valuable. And the way you can connect, that doesn't happen in a bar, doesn't happen at work, unfortunately. I hope it was normal to connect like that with people. But the way it brought me to connect with very amazing women and men, and have taught me so much. 1 year ago, I was already a feminist and I was an activist, but I had already so much bias and so much wrong ideas in my head. So I learned so much every day, and I'm grateful for that. So my biggest accomplishment is to meet these amazing people and that are just like me, trying to do their lives, and that they are open to connect.